Yo, what's going on, guys? King here. In today's video, I want to take you through a cosmetic build guide to help you create your very own Black Templar Emperor's Champion here in Space Marine 2. We're going to cover everything from armor pieces to chapter and heraldry markings, as well as weapon choices and weapon skins. At the end of the video, we're going to go through some concept art from Games Workshop to make sure we have a lore accurate version of what an Emperor's Champion would look like here in Space Marine 2. But first, a little lore behind the Emperor's Champion, as the Emperor's Champion is an honorary position within the ranks of the Space Marines, especially amongst the first and second founding chapters. The position of the Emperor's Champion has played an important role, especially though for the Black Templars chapter, especially since their inception as a successor of the Imperial Fist. The first Emperor's Champion ever to exist was actually Sigismund, the first captain of the Imperial Fist during the Horus Heresy, and Sigismund went on to be the founding High Marshal of the Black Templars. It is the duty of the Emperor's Champion to seek out and challenge the commander of the enemy force, fighting him or her in single combat for the glory of the Emperor. And fun fact about the Emperor's Champion is the only way to become the Emperor's Champion, especially amongst the Black Templars, is not through training or battle, but through visions that a Space Marine will receive prior to battle, showing visions of Sigismund actually fighting in battle, or visions directly from the Emperor. And he has to be confirmed by the Reclusiarchy and the chaplains of the chapter. So with that being said, we're going to jump right into the cosmetic build, starting off with the armor set. As you can see here, I have my standard issue second company Ultramarine right here, and we are going to come over here to the custom armor set and start off with the helmet. And the Emperor's Champion, especially within the Black Templars, wears a very specific helmet. They wear a Crusader type helmet, which would be similar to this one here, like these ones, but they do have laurels above their helmet. So the best helmet to choose for your Emperor's Champion here in Space Marine 2 is actually going to be the Mark 7 with laurels. This is going to be the closest in resemblance, especially with the laurels included, to what the Emperor's Champion would wear. So that is the helmet we are going to choose right here. And then for the left pauldron, there are a few different options you could go with. You could go with a standard issue Mark 10 Tacticus pauldron and then add on Black Templars Champion or Black Templars heraldry markings. But the best one overall is actually going to be the Black Templars Champion left pauldron, which is a relic tier option that comes from the Black Templars Champion skin. So if you do have that skin, that is the one I am going to recommend, as you'll see with some of the concept art from Games Workshop and just concept art in general. The Emperor's Champion has very specific heraldry markings, especially with this Black Templar cross and the skull and crossbones. So those are the pauldrons we are going to pick for this character. So we are going to go with the left pauldron and the right pauldron being the Black Templar Champion pack skins. And then in terms of the breastplate that the Black Templar Champion, Emperor's Champion is going to wear actually has no heraldry or chapter markings. It doesn't have an aquila or even skulls on it. It is completely bare. So out of the options that we do have here in Space Marine 2, the best option is actually going to be this one, the Mark 10 skull variant. That is a relic tier variant that actually was available via Twitch drops, but you can get this breastplate through the Heroic Redemption Center in the Armoring Center in Space Marine 2. So this is the variant we are going to go with. It has the least amount of heraldry chapter markings, aquillas, skulls on it, as it just has that single skull in the middle. And then what you'll notice with the Black Templar Emperor's Champion is they have a single front tabard. So we don't need a front and back tabard. We don't need a really decorative sort of huge tabard like this front and back from the Black Templars Champion pack. We are just going to go with the Mark 10 skull with the front tabard. And then in terms of the backpack, the Emperor's Champion wears a very unique backpack that has multiple purity seals on it that do flow off of him. On the actual model, you'll see that they're red, But in terms of this model, the best options are going to be both Relic Tier Mark 10 Tacticus backpacks, and it's really up to you which one you would like to choose. I'm going to go with this one here, being Relic Tier, but mainly for the accent purity seals that are included because it has 2. For the Storm Shield, what's unique about the Emperor's Champion is the Emperor's Champion is a designated bladesman. He is a duelist. So when he goes into battle, he actually carries no secondary weapon and no Storm Shield. So for the purposes of this video, because Space Marine 2 doesn't have an option where we can't have a Storm Shield unless we're using the Thunder Hammer, we are going to go with the Black Templar Storm Shield, as that is going to be the best thematically and aesthetically for a Black Templar Emperor's Champion. So that's the one we're going to go with. And then for the gauntlets. So for the gauntlets, the Emperor's Champion uses very unique Crusader type gauntlets. They have a very unique aesthetic style. So for this character, we are going to go with the Black Templar Champion left and right gauntlet. And you'll see why when I reference the concept art for this character. The other option which you could use would be the left gauntlet for the Inquisition insignia, because it does have a very similar Crusader type style, especially on the back where the elbow portion is. But for this one, by far, the Black Templar Champion skin left and right gauntlet is going to be the best. And they go the best thematically with the Black Templars because the Black Templars use a lot of chains on their armor. And for the right gauntlet specifically, you are going to want to go with the Black Templar Champion right gauntlet because of this specific piece right here on the character's gauntlet. This piece right here actually has a very specific purpose, especially for the Black Templars, where Black Templars are known for chaining their weapon, their melee weapon, to their actual armor using this gauntlet piece right here. So if you do have the Black Templar Champion skin from the Season Pass, you will notice when you apply the actual skin in-game, and then you use the Black Templar Power Sword skin, you will actually see the chains, or the chain that keeps the Power Sword connected to the character's gauntlet like this. So this is very thematic and aesthetic for the Black Templars, and this is the one we are going to go with for our character right here. And then in terms of greaves, we'll start off with the left greave. The Emperor's Champion actually wears what would be considered firstborn greaves that don't have a separate knee pauldron like this. They are a single piece. So the best options for us here in Space Marine 2 are first going to be the Mark 10 Tacticus standard issue left and right greave, but the other option you could choose is the Black Templar Champion left and right greave, which are relic tier. So you could use these, and when we get to the heraldry marks, I'll explain why as well, but we aren't actually going to include any heraldry marks on the knee pads of this character, so we want to keep them as bare as possible. So these are the knee pads and the greaves that we are going to go with for both the left and the right greave right here. So that's everything for the actual armor pieces for our character right here. Let's jump over to the chapter and heraldry markings and change up some of the core parts of what this Emperor's Champion is going to look like. Now, before we dive into the custom heraldry and chapter markings, one of the best ways to customize this character, if you want to get ahead and move quickly through the chapter and heraldry markings, is to actually go here to the preset chapter skins for each chapter. And you can come down here to the Black Templars and start your build with this specifically. So that will get you to a good starting point. You can choose this, but for the purposes of this video, we are going to actually choose everything custom to make sure we have all the custom colors and heraldry markings for this character. So let's jump into a custom heraldry set right here. And for the base color, the general rules for this character, the primary color, the main color we are going to choose is Abaddon Black right here. The secondary color we're going to choose is also going to be Abaddon Black, and then the tertiary color is going to stay this Liberator Gold, but we are going to make some modifications to both the pauldrons and the trim of those pauldrons. So let's jump down here to the right pauldron. The first thing we're going to want to change is the background color on this, and we're going to want to make this white scar. Because for the Black Templars, you are going to see with the actual tabletop model and the concept art that this pauldron and both pauldrons are going to be white scar. And then we do want to change the trim as well. We want to change this trim to be completely black. So Corvus Black is going to be our best option for the trim for our pauldrons. So let's change both of those really quickly. We want that white scar background, and then we want Corvus Black as our trim color. Okay, let's move over to the helmet, because there are a few different options for what we can do for the helmet. First off, I do want to say we're going to keep this lens color as Mephiston Red. As you'll see from the concept art, there are other options. There are other concept art pieces that show a variation of the Emperor's Champion using a light blue color for their lens color. So you could go with Thousand Suns Blue, but for this specific character, we are going to keep that Mephiston Red. And then we're going to keep the main color Abaddon Black and the second color Abaddon Black. Now for the tertiary color, which specifically affects the laurels on this helmet, we want to keep this consistent. So we are going to keep this Liberator Gold, but there are other few options that you could use to make this and make the laurels a little bit more accentuated. So the first one would be Griffin Gold. You could use a Griffin Gold, which would brighten up those laurels a little bit, make them a little bit more gold, stand out a little bit more. You could use a standard gold, but in my opinion, this is a little bit too dark, okay? It doesn't have as much shine as the Liberator Gold. And then the last one you could choose is Gehenna's Gold right here. This one really makes the laurels pop, but it also does affect those side pieces. And for the consistency of our character, we want to choose the same gold for everything that we are going to keep gold. It also has more of like a matte finish than sort of that shiny, glossy finish that we want on laurels. So for this character, we are going to keep Liberator Gold as the gold for our laurels, the skull, the side pieces, and the accents of this helmet. Moving on to the breastplate. So for the breastplate, we are going to want to keep the main color and secondary color Abaddon Black, and we are going to keep that accent tertiary color as Liberator Gold. Again, the breastplate for the Emperor's Champion actually has no skulls, no Quilla, no chapter and heraldry markings. The only thing on the Emperor's Champion breastplate is actually a tilt shield, but in Space Marine 2, that option is not available. So we are going to keep this Liberator Gold, and then we want to keep the cloth color as Wraithbone. Okay, we want to keep that as Wraithbone, as that is going to be the cloth color that the Black Templar Emperor's Champion is going to use. After that, for consistency purposes with the Storm Shield, we do want to change this main color to White Scar, and then keep the secondary color as Abaddon Black and the tertiary accent color as Liberator Gold to keep it consistent with our other choices. You could change this to Corvus Black as well, but in terms of accents where we do have small accentuations throughout the character, Liberator Gold is going to give it that Black Templar finish, that sort of look, very Crusader type look, so we do want to keep that consistent. For the left and right gauntlets, we are going to make some changes as well. So we're going to keep that main color Abaddon Black, secondary color Abaddon Black, and then we are going to change this tertiary accent color to Corvus Black as well. And you will see this in the tabletop model and in the concept art that the entire gauntlets for the Emperor's Champion are going to be completely black as well. So we do want to change up that as well. And then lastly, let's go over to the greaves. So for the left and right greave, we are going to keep them as Abaddon Black for both the primary and secondary color. Now, for the concept art that I've seen, the only other change that I could see is I have seen concept art that shows a Black Templar cross on the left greave, but with a transparent background, and the actual Templar cross being white. So this is an option you could go with. It does add a little bit of heraldry to the character, which is pretty cool. But in terms of lore accuracy and the actual model for the tabletop, this is not included. So for the purposes of this video, we are going to keep both greaves pure Abaddon black with no heraldry markings. So that is going to be the armor build for our character right here. And then for the backpack, I just want to note as well, for the backpack, we did keep that main color Abaddon black as well. And then that secondary Abaddon black and the tertiary accent color as well, being that Liberator gold, to keep that consistent with the breastplate. So that's going to be the full armor build, as you can see here. So let's dive into the weapon choices for our character. The weapon choices for the Emperor's Champion are going to be a little bit more open, because the Emperor's Champion only uses, truly, a single weapon when they go into battle. Like I mentioned before, they are a duelist. So they are known for using what's called the Black Sword, which is a two-handed greatsword, power sword, that is master crafted. And they don't have any sort of secondary weapon or storm shield when they do go into battle. So let's dive into the secondary weapon choices. As for the secondary weapon choices, you can really choose whatever you would like in Space Marine 2. Everything from a bolt pistol to a heavy bolt pistol, plasma pistol, or a Neo-Volkite. What I would recommend, though, is to go thematically and aesthetically with the Black Templar theme, is you choose a weapon skin that is representative of them. So we have a few different options. I would recommend either the Drogos Reclamation Alpha, the Galflamore Crusade, the Ophelian Liberation Alpha, or Beta variants. Because with these weapon variants, you can see that a lot of them have chains connected to the weapon skin, which is very thematic for the Black Templars and also matches their theme. So that's what I would recommend in terms of weapon skins. So you can see here those options for the plasma pistol. You can also see here for the heavy bolt pistol. These are all the options right here. You can see, and these are all going to be Artificer or Relic tier options, okay? Same thing with the standard bolt pistol. You can see here with the chains connected. All of those really matching up well to what the Black Templars would use, or that matches their theme of having a lot of chains on their weapons. And then for the Neo-Volkite, I would recommend the Salvation of Baka right here, and the Drogos Reclamation, and then the Galflamore Crusade and Ophelian Liberation Alpha. All of those would work perfectly fine. But really, the main thing we are concerned about is the melee weapon choice and the weapon skin for the Emperor's Champion. The only melee option you're going to want to use for a lore-accurate build for the Emperor's Champion is the Power Sword, and there are a bunch of different variants that we could use in terms of weapon skins, because the Black Sword, which they would typically use as a two-handed greatsword, is not available here in Space Marine 2. So really, the best option, the number one best option that I would recommend is the Black Templar's Power Sword skin from the Black Templar Champion Pack, specifically because of the hilt with the Black Templar cross, and then the actual look of the weapon. Now, the Black Sword does have a pointed tip, which is different from this variation right here. So the alternative options you could use to make it lore accurate still would be starting off with the Imperator blade. Okay. The only difference on this is it doesn't really have any sort of Black Templar markings, but still very in line with, you know, a Crusader type looking weapon, a Roman Greco type looking weapon. So it does also sort of match, because what you'll see with the Emperor's Champion tabletop model is on the black sword it says Imperator Lux, and this one says Gloria Imperator. So that is very similar as well. The other option is the Galthamore Crusade. This one is very cool because it says my sword is at Emperor's command. So that sort of matches as well. So this would be an alternative option. And then the Warden Blade Alpha. This one would have the most similar hilt to a Black Templar type weapon. Even though it's not Black Templar Cross, it would be most similar. So this is a good option as well. And then the last option would be actually the Survivor's Power Sword because of the hilt of the weapon. Now, I know this one does have a lot of battle damage, but it would give a very cool look, and it would give sort of that duelist type feel to your character because of the battle damage on the weapon. But for the purposes of this video, the best two options, number one being Black Templar's Power Sword, and then number two being Imperator Blade, are the ones that I would choose when making this character. So that's going to be the full build for our Emperor's Champion. Let's jump over to some concept art from Games Workshop and just some concept art in general to see how we did in terms of our armor choices, our heraldry markings, and our weapon skin choices. Okay, let's take a look at some concept art from Games Workshop for what they currently have for the Emperor's Champion for the tabletop model. So as you can see here on Warhammer.com, I have the Emperor's Champion model. As you can see, first off, biggest thing is the type of helmet they use being that Crusader type helmet, but you can see the Crusader type helmet has those laurels above it. So that is very specific to the Emperor's Champion. That's why the best option in Space Marine 2 is going to be the Mark 7 with laurels. It's going to give the best look overall. You could go with a standard Crusader helmet, but it wouldn't really achieve the look of the Emperor's Champion. You can also see here right at the front the black sword that they use. This is a two-handed great sword power sword that they use. You can see the black blade. It says Imperator Lux on the blade, and then has that Black Templar cross as the hilt. That's why I say the best two variants are going to be the Imperator blade or the Black Templar's Champion skin, power sword skin. You can also see here for the gauntlets why we went with that gauntlet decision of having the one from the Black Templar Champion pack, because the gauntlets that the Black Templars use, they have that cuff that chains their weapon directly to them. So if they ever were to get knocked down in battle, they would never lose their weapon in the dirt or something like that. So that's a good choice there. And then you can see on the offhand, they have no secondary weapon, no storm shield. They actually only have what looks to be a double or single Aquila chained to their wrist, almost like a rosary. So the Emperor's Champion is known to be a duelist. They go into battle to single-handedly fight the opposing commander or the enemy commander. And as you can see here, the breastplate for this character has no heraldry markings or Aquila or skulls whatsoever. They simply have a tilt shield right here. Unfortunately, that's not available in Space Marine 2, but we did go with the best available choice, which is the Mark 10 skull breastplate. So you can go with that one with as little heraldry markings as possible, and then they have a single tabard on the front in that Wraithbone color. So that's a great choice as well. You can see the greaves here are almost like Firstborn Marine greaves. They don't really have like a separate knee pad like they do in Space Marine 2, but there's no heraldry markings whatsoever, so that's a great choice as well. The backpack, you can see, has some purity seals on it, 2 specifically, so going with a Relic Tier backpack is going to be your best choice. And then the pauldrons here. You can see that they have these raised Black Templar crosses with the white background and the skull and crossbones. So using the Black Templar Champion pauldrons for the left and the right is going to be the best choice by far. So I think we did a really good job with putting together our Black Templar Emperor's Champion in Space Marine 2. Let's look at some more concept art to see how these characters really look in the lore and in some different pictures. So as you can see here, again, this is basically an exact replica photo of the model that is currently available from Games Workshop. You can see that rosary here they have on their left gauntlet. On their right, they have that cuff and the chained black sword to them. And then the Crusader helmet with, crosses on it, the red eye lenses, and those laurels sitting above the head. So very cool look, definitely one of the most badass looks in 40K by far. Let's look at some other variations. Here's another iteration of the Emperor's Champion. Again, no markings on the breastplate, black sword chained to their arm here. And then, like I said, you could use a heraldry marking on the left greave being a white Templar cross like this. That would still be considered lore accurate based off of this photo right here. Again, this might be a fan photo that was created, so it's not direct one-to-one to what the tabletop model looks like, but a very cool look as well. This one also has an iron halo. That's something that would be very cool if we could add that in Space Marine 2. But you can see those Black Templar crosses on their shoulder pads with the skull in the middle. So again, that left and right pauldron is going to be the best option. Let's look at another photo here. So this is a completely different iteration of the Emperor's Champion. I believe this is a fan photo. So this is also something you could do in Space Marine 2 and create this type of look with gold shoulder trim, a standard Black Templar cross, but with the white background. You can have that same Mark 7 with laurels. This one obviously being a Crusader helmet, but you could change the lens color to like a light blue, which would make it very, very cool looking. And then you can see down here, there are some heraldry markings as well. That's something you could do as well. And a different right pauldron if you wanted to do that. But again, the most lore accurate version is going to be that tabletop model like we see here. So that's what we're really trying to go for. And then lastly, I did want to show a photo of the black sword, as it is a very specific weapon within the lore. You can see that there's a lot of Black Templar heraldry on it, and it is a single great sword. So this weapon would be used two-handed. It wouldn't be used single-handed, but definitely something, that's very unique. And again, that's why I think using those two different variations of the weapon skins, being the Imperator blade and the Black Templar Champion Power Sword skin, are the best versions to use for this specific character. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Did we hit the mark? Did we miss the mark? Let me know in the comments below what you want to see next in terms of cosmetic build guides as well. If you guys like this video, make sure you like the damn video as well and subscribe. And I will see all you guys in the next cosmetic build. Peace.